Trap Politics TV, trappolitics.com, live as the story unfolds. And tragically, it's been another case, another shooting that's been taking place, this time at a graduation ceremony in Middle Tennessee State University. When I first reported this incident, there wasn't any deaths, but now there has been one confirmed dead, and apparently the shooter is still at large. Now, my whole thought on the matter is I don't think the shooter is at large anymore. They do have helicopters surrounding the area. Police have surrounded the area. And chief of police and head of faculty have made a statement about exactly what's going on. I believe this is just my personal belief. I think they may have the individual locked up or at least apprehended at this point. As far as I can assume. This is a research show. I appreciate everybody that stopped through, that would, watch on the rebroadcast. I normally like to just, keep everybody up to date. It's wild stuff like this has happened, and it feels like it's been less than 24 hours. I mean, not 24 hours, less than 7 days since the last shooting occurred, which is crazy because this is just starting to become like a trend now, it seems. But here we are again, talking about lives being lost. And man, the other day while I was shopping and whatnot, right? Some thoughts were running through my mind. A nice stream of consciousness was coming through. A stream of enlightenment was coming through about what it's like living behind enemy lines. And a lot of questions were just left unanswered, and sometimes I feel like I'm a pretty analytical type of guy. I kind of I like to think about certain things in a theoretical fashion. I like to I talk to myself to get to get clarity, on certain things, because sometimes I find the best answers just rationalizing with myself. I can't really ask these questions to anybody else. Pardon me as I get some agua here. And I want to just run through some of these thoughts with y'all while I stay updated on this shooting incident that has now claimed the life of one individual. And the way how the scenario is, it seems like it could have been a student, because this did happen during a Riverdale High School graduation ceremony while the ceremony was letting out, actually. So everybody was pretty much getting ready to go, saddled up, everybody was in good spirits, and then this happened, completely changed the mood and changed the temperature. Very tragic, but man, just seems like, it's just become a regular thing in America now. It's just, I mean, it's not like if shooting like this, but let me get into it. Hold on. Also want to say shout out to the Aqua team. Everybody out there that's drinking water, I salute you. You mean a lot. You set a great example. Um, so yeah, I was thinking about the fact that we're living in these time behind enemy lines, right? Where is the enemy line? because we consider America the homeland, but it seems like there's a lot of people who don't consider America the homeland for certain reasons, some more than the other, right? But when shit like this starts happening, it's like, has the homeland been infiltrated? You know, is the common consensus have has the common consensus now been erupted? Has now been disrupted? Has now been eroded? Has changed? Because I mean, if you really think back, right, to like the Bonnie and Clyde era. Let's go all the way back to then. They were pretty much almost doing the same thing. They were, well, not I guess to this extent, but they were robbing and killing them, random people to the point where they needed to be stopped. So these type of mass shootings has kind of been happening for a very long time. The fact that it's now like kids is where it's really starting to get a little out of hand, right? Where it's children starting to be involved, children doing these type of things, right? And I always seem to ask myself this question, right? Like you're living like literally behind enemy lines. No matter where you're at, you could be in an urban environment, right, where the population is mainly a lot of black people, and you could walk into the wrong hood. Shout out to California, even in New York. You could turn down the wrong block where certain deals are happening. RIP to that 14-year-old girl that died, that got hit in the crossfire. It just seems like no matter where you go, there's always some type of enemy trying to take your life. And that's what I mean when I say living in these time behind enemy lines. It's like, yo, we're not even safe, walking out of our house. Now, it's never been that way. It's never been a time where you could really consider yourself super safe, but it's like, damn, it's not like it's now become the norm where you could lose your life, but you could also be gone with multiple people around you just because of one person decided to do some radical, off the wall shit. And that's crazy to me. That is crazy to me. I mean, I think a lot of these type of events though have been desensitizing people to the nature of a mass shooting. I guess some people are more receptive to the fact when they're in those moments, when it's actually happening to them. But when they're seeing it or hearing about it, they don't really know the gravity of it. Me personally, I think these type of things are outrageous. I don't think these type of things should be taken lightly at all, because who's to say that it won't be you tomorrow? You know, who's to say that when you go shopping for anything, clothes, a car, a house, that something wild wouldn't happen in your neighborhood? People like to chalk it up to certain things. Oh, it's mental health. Oh, it's this and it's that, blaming. But it's like, can you really chalk it up to that though? Can you really pinpoint that? I mean, I think there's more accountability needs to be had within the individual, man. I mean, granted, as men, we all go through a lot of things. As people, as humans, we all go through a lot of things. But it's not our fault to take it out on people. It's our responsibility to change those things. That's what life is all about: the will, free will, to be able to change your scenarios and things that's happening to you. If you don't like the way things are, start taking incremental steps to change that shit. Don't just feel like it is what it is and then start taking it out on people. And that's like, that not only makes the situation, worse, but it definitely drastically affects not just you, but the people around you statewide, not just your neighborhood, like statewide. So when I hear about shit like this happening at a graduation ceremony, it's like, man, my heart goes out to those children, those family members. It's like, shh, they're now traumatized. A day when it's supposed to be very ceremonial has now been torn away from them. The innocence of that moment has now been torn away from them, and that, to me, I think is the most wildest shit ever. Just thinking about myself and my graduation, I'm walking up on stage. I remember my graduation, though it was a long time ago. I still remember my graduation, and yeah, man, I was very ecstatic, you know what I'm saying? Didn't think I was really ever gonna make it here because I didn't really feel like high school was really something for me, you know? I've always I was developing my ways of the streets of being able to get it all out the mud and on my own very well. Um, but I didn't see myself at the graduation podium. And then when I finally made it up there, you know, it was definitely a great feeling being able to grab my diploma and walk off with a sense of relief. Being there with my family, you know, seeing my mom and my pops there at my graduation. Out of all things they showed up for, they definitely showed up for my graduation. They weren't there for my band ceremonies and not any of that stuff, you know, because I did some things on stage, my acting things from here and there, you know, my performances here and there. They didn't show up for that, but they definitely showed up for my graduation ceremony, and that meant a lot to me. So I'm just imagining, you know, how these children may have felt when they were finally able to achieve something that they worked so hard for, just for that to be taken away by some radical, by some radical individual that decided to start shooting to the point where they end up taking a life. Now, according to the report, it says that how two people were shot. One person has lost their life, and the other person, I guess, is in critical condition, while the shooter is still at large. Now, like I mentioned earlier on this stream, I don't think the shooter is actually still at large. I think they may have apprehended the shooter, but and the reason why I think that's because certain people have made certain comments about what's going on that I think kind of gives a small sigh of relief that maybe they have the situation under control. They do have helicopters flying over the area right now as well. I did listen to the live stream as it was happening in the moment. Um, you know, from the moment that the story cracked and students were being told to stay in place, I've been keeping my eye on it. I didn't even know two people were shot. It was as the story developed, I started to really understand exactly what was going on. Just like the same shooting incident that happened in Buffalo. What's wild was that when that shooting happened in Buffalo, you know, there was a lot of people trying to get the footage. Now, I wonder what makes that situation different from this situation, because that situation had a lot of people, you know, scrambling to YouTube and Reddit and a whole bunch of places trying to find this video. It kind of makes me think, right, the nature of society today when people are so eager to see violence, real violence outside of CGI, than to not want to see it. Like, it's now a hunger for that shit. And that shit is what surprises me. People want to see the tyranny. I wonder how far we as a society have gone off the deep end, right? Is it to a point of no return? I think it might be. I think social media I can't even say I could blame social media, man. I think maybe just the birth of the internet in general is to blame. You know, we all don't look at the fact that the internet started all of this. Because back in the day, we only had what? Newspaper. We just had the press, right? Get it? We just had the press to give us these depressing news. And then it turned to the internet, where news just could spread like wildfire, where it's no longer certain people have access to certain things. It's now everybody has access to anything. And ain't nobody mad at that. It's just the fact that now, you know, have we been so desensitized to the nature of violence that we are now hungry for it? And that's the thing that's wild to me. And though as young as I am, you know, I've seen the evolution of it, right? I've seen the evolution of the hunger to always want to know and see. But is it? I guess the need to know. Could it be the need to know that has gotten people hungry to see these type of things? And it's sad because people are more attracted to violence than they are attracted to like um, innovation. Because I believe innovation would be something that people should be eager to see, but that's not what people are attracted to. A guy runs into a store with a machine gun, start cutting down people, and the internet goes ablaze. But you talk about technology that could probably stop aging and probably could keep you alive for 500 years, and people just brush it off as just another iPhone that's going to drop next year. I don't know, man. How far off the deep end have we went? Have we been so desensitized to shootings and disaster that it's like when it happens, at least we want to see it. As I continue to build my career in like journalism and building a platform, a multimedia platform, I really start to see a different side of human nature, a side that hasn't been studied yet, I think. And it's only really just scratching the surface. I mean, you see things like the social dilemma, where these algorithms are putting you in a box, a certain sandbox of other people and individuals. But I wonder what else is happening there, though, that isn't being talked about, right? Because life does go on. There is things that need to be addressed. There is damages being done to the mind that causes people to do things like this, to be hungry for things like this, right? People say, "Oh man, yo, it's like, yo, how did the kid get the gun? There's always like something pointing to something, but it's like it, it's, this all this stuff leads up. None of this just happens just out of spite. You know what I'm saying? It, as humans, we're creatures of habit, right? So we habitually do things until it gives us an opportunity to really want to do something. You know what I'm saying? It starts off small. And as this story continues to unfold, I definitely want to know a few things, right? Who is this? How old is this shooter? What is his family's background like? You know what I'm saying? Was he a disturbed child? If it was a child at all, could it be faculty? Could it just be somebody random? Could it be a family member, in the area at the time? What type of weapon did he have? How did this person ever acquire a weapon? Does he have a criminal record? There's a lot of things that I'm very curious about. Did he know the individual that he shot? Was this an intended target? And this is just me just scratching the surface of what might be happening. Did he even go to the school? Is it a MI? Is it a Middle Tennessee State University student, or was it a Riverdale High School student? You know what I'm saying? Because it was two schools. It was the university and the high school that came to the university for their graduation. So a lot of questions, that are still unsolved at this present moment, because obviously it's still breaking news. But still, to me, in my mind, I want to know exactly the mindset of this type of individual. What makes you say, you know what, this graduation I think will be the perfect time for me to hatch my revenge and completely throw my life away and ruin the lives of hundreds of others that's going to be at this ceremony. Sickening. A very sickening thought. Like sometimes I wonder if people sit down and they really think about it. Because if you sit down and you think about it and think this is a good idea to completely ruin your life and the life of others, that's when at that point is the point where people should actually go and get help. To be like, hey, maybe I am a little screwed to think that this is actually normal. Because I do that from time to time. Sometimes I'll sit around and I have a sick thought and I tell myself, where the fuck what the hell is that? Where did that just come from? You know what I'm saying? I literally check myself, self-checking, a self-check system within my mental psyche where I regulate my thoughts. I just don't let thoughts come into my mind, sit in my mind, and then I just let it grow actions in my real life. I check my thoughts. Some people call it overthinking. Some people call it maybe a little sign of insanity. But I would rather check my thoughts and keep myself in line than to be overreacting and always getting in trouble or doing things that will injure or hurt others. Understanding that I live a life of community, I have to live amongst people in order to survive and thrive. Humans are sociable creatures as well. But people who don't do that shit and just think that, you know what, I'm going to take this weapon because there's too many blacks, Latinos, and Asians walking around. And don't get me started on the Jews. I just want to just eradicate, like, as someone who just thinks that and don't think that, wait, this might not be a normal thought, and just goes out and just acts upon it, like, I sometimes try to figure out too, how could you even weed out these people? You know, is there a way of weeding them out? Because I do think that there's certain point in times where these type of people show their true colors, either to their friends or their family, and their friends or family don't think anything of it because it might be just their human nature to be so erratic and just outlandish. You know, people do disturbed children do things to get attention. You know, when you're seeing a child do certain things, they're doing certain things because they're trying to get attention. I learned that very young, you know, and I also learned that when I was taking care of like especially disabled people. Like I noticed that they would do things out of the norm just to get attention because they wanted something. You know, either they wanted to either express themselves or maybe they had something that was bothering them that they never got a chance to really come to grips with. You know, people would do things to get attention, and I found myself doing that as well too. You know, again, back to self-reflecting, self-regulating, to really get a grasp and understanding of human nature. You know, and I think a lot of us need to really do that from time to time. A lot of us need to really like sit down and just let our thoughts marinate a little bit, right? Let our thoughts just let it hang around. Don't even think too much about it. Just, you know what I'm saying? Really think of the thought as an object before even acting upon it. You could toss it out like a piece of paper that you toss into the trash when you write something down that you didn't think was right. Or you could be like, oh, okay, this is a post-it. I'm gonna hold on to it and let it rock from time to time. But people who just write some shit down or just let a thought just pop in and just gonna do every single thing, it's like, okay, you have no level of rationale. You don't know how to reason between, you know, what you can and shouldn't waste your time with. And people who do things like this, I feel like they just continuously let the thoughts build in their mind for months upon months. You know, maybe try to express themselves a little bit to certain people, gets no attention. Maybe they're way too antisocial, and that right there, within itself is a sign when a person is too withdrawn or thrown away. You know, they don't necessarily address matters or whatnot, too passive on certain things. All things that I believe needs to be addressed. All things that I think needs to be addressed. And hopefully in this situation, hopefully the perp is apprehended because there hasn't been any update on the news. Hopefully the has been apprehended. They throw him underneath the jail. Um if he does have mental issues, it's too late to really think about that now. And I don't think people with mental issues who do shit like this should get a pass either. I think people with mental issues should be held through even more severe scrutiny than a person who is logical. So if a person who is logical is getting 20 years, I think a person who has a mental issue should get 27 years. You know, just add a little bit more on there because they need like a little longer psych eval. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you had these thoughts. You didn't really rationale this to speak with anybody. This is just me though. You know, I could be wrong. I mean, this is just my opinion on the matter. But I think people who just go above and beyond to do shit like this, now they pass the point of no return because you know once you start killing people, you have now taken others past the point of no return themselves. So you in turn will now be at a point of no return, alive and you know locked away probably being waterboarded to really start to wipe the mind from all this type of stuff, which is crazy. Needs to start bringing back the old what's that thing called, where they stick the stakes in your eyes and then they start to like worm it around. I think a phlebotomy, a lobotomy. They need to bring lobotomy back for certain people. These type of people who do these type of things. Let's just try to rewire your neuron wiring cortex and see exactly where we could actually connect the dots a little bit. We don't know where the dots are. We don't know what we're connecting, but at this point, you know what I'm saying. You're far beyond the point of no of return. So let's just try this one out for size and let's see where this goes. Because yeah, yeah, crazy, man. And the summer is just starting too. The summer is just starting. Hopefully, these type of acts will slow down. Hopefully, people could be able to take their children to movie theaters, festivals, graduations, the beach, without having to fear, even though we may be already past that point. But hopefully, it's not to the point where these things are happening so frequently that now it's it's now a concern when you go out. You can't even go out without having at least some type of heavy weight on your chest. But hopefully these things slow down where at least there could be a break in the storm, because it seems like this type of thing is too regular. Now, throughout this whole half an hour that I've been speaking, I didn't bring up anything about race. Only thing I spoke about was mental health and my personal experience. But I don't want to bring race into these type of topics as of yet. Actually, no, I did bring up race actually when I was talking about how certain people just decide to just wake up and just think that they want to just eradicate a certain group of people, which I still think is crazy. So I did mention that. I take that back. I'm sorry. I did mention race, and it's crazy that people would. It's crazy that I even have to think about that. It's crazy that that's even like a motive for an active shooter situation. Man. Well, it is late. I appreciate those who decided to stop in. I appreciated those who gave me at least 1 to 5 minutes of their time to hear me out. I'm just gonna read this article real quick from the Tennessean. This is straight from Tennessee itself. This is a Tennessee site that reports straight from the horse's mouth. And it says Middle Tennessee State University. I'm just going to read the article exactly of what happened, the latest article of what happened. So at least as I close out with the most updated information that's out there right now. It says Middle Tennessee State University is warning people to avoid Murphy Center after a shooting was reported there. Rutherford County Sheriff Office Sergeant Dan Goodwill said that one person is dead and another is in critical but stable condition. He did not release the identity of the person killed. The shooting occurred shortly before 9 p.m. outside MTSU Murphy Center near the tennis court as Riverdale High School student ceremony was letting out. The shooter is still at large, Goodwill said. The shooter is still at large. Tonight's shooting at Middle Tennessee State University is a tragedy for our community. We mourn with the family who lost a loved one and the victim who was injured, Goodwill said. The university posted Wednesday night on Facebook about 9:15, warning people to leave Murphy Center immediately and shelter in places if unable to leave the area safely. Rutherford County School spokesman James Evans said Riverdale High School will be closed Thursday and a decision will be made later about Friday classes. MTSU stated summer classes on campus Monday. MTSU started summer classes on campus Monday, about a week and a half after graduation, and the majority of students left for summer break. They said this is a developing story and will be updated as more information is available. Man, 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 man. Crazy, 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 crazy. My condolences also go out to those who has lost a loved one, and those who are mentally traumatized as well. Those high school students, as well as university students. It's your boy Ralph at trappolitics.com. Make sure to stop by the website to see any of the latest and greatest articles across the web, covering all things controversial, covering all things interesting as well, covering all things surrounding urban culture and beyond. Until next time, take care of yourself.